Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Brian, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about our relationship with spirit. But the one thing I just want to reiterate is that spirit is not something that is really outside of us. So when we pray, you're not really praying to some spirit that's really going to make things happen for you. And I think that that's something a lot of people don't really understand. So, spirit is you, you are spirit. You have the illusion of being a human being, and that's what we experience while we're here. But all the while, you are spirit. There is no spirit that is really outside of you. Now, we do have a physical reality in a three-dimensional world, the illusion of separation as it is, and we do perceive this reality that is outside of us. But truly, it is only a reflection of what is coming from us within. So, this means that the illusion of separation, this three dimensional reality of time and space, it doesn't really exist. It's not really outside of you. It's really just a reflection of what is inside of you. You can think of the world around you almost as a projector. So, it's just a big projector screen, and what you see is the reflections of you. And so, from that perspective, there is no spirit that is really outside of you. It is just you, right? The absolute is just this singular shared identity that is each and every person, each and everything. It has no labels. It has no identity, truly. It is an identity of no identity. And this is spirit, like that spirit in and of itself. Spirit is the all. But as far as just like prayers, when we say a prayer, we are truly asking ourselves for something, and we're not really asking anyone else. So when we pray, it's actually you who is given the choice of answering your own prayers. Now, that's not to say that prayers are not helpful. Prayers do have a big impact on your life because you are placing a strong intent behind the prayers that you are saying. And so through your prayers, you are actually working with intention. But I just want to kind of create this shift in perspective where you can understand that when you truly are praying, it is you who is going to answer your own prayers. There is no spirit outside of you that is truly going to create something for you. It is your intention, and it is your own inner world that is going to create the changes outside of you. So when you do pray and you do have these prayers that are answered, it is truly your own shift in your own inner world that is creating the answer to your prayers that you see outside of yourself in this three-dimensional reality. And I really just wanted to bring this up today because it allows a new tier of empowerment that's not truly there when we kneel before an idea of spirit. And that's the thing. Spirit does not want to be put upon a pedestal and worshipped. That's not really what this is about. Spirit wants you to work in a partnership, understanding that you are spirit, that this is you. And by lowering yourself, by putting spirit upon a pedestal in which you believe you are unworthy, you are not helping the situation. And that is not what your spirit wants. That is not what your soul wants. Your soul wants you to understand that spirit is you. Spirit is within you. You answer your own prayers. And this creates a new level of autonomy within your life. This creates a new level of self-empowerment that is not able to be achieved when we are lowering ourselves and presenting our prayers as if they are unworthy, or as if we have to pray to something outside of us to answer these prayers. It is truly you. And you might not really see that this is a big deal. Perhaps you are already aware of this. But it's one of those things that I've witnessed in my own family. Is there is this tendency in a lot of my family members to lower themselves and to believe that they are not worthy, that they are on a lower tier. And it's a little frustrating for me because I know that that's not what Spirit wants. That is not what the Absolute wants. Now, the Absolute certainly doesn't want you to think that the ego is above all and that you, in and of yourself, are some kind of Jesus Christ Savior type identity. But what your spirit does want you to understand is that you are spirit. You are equal to this idea of spirit, to the absolute. There is a level of equality that exists there. Equality is the name of the game within spirit. All is equal. All is the self. All is the absolute. And so that's where you want to, that's really where you want to come from, is you want to understand that you are equal. There is a level of equality. There is a level of value that is an inherent feature in each and everything that exists. If you exist for a reason. There is no room for anything that should not exist in this world. If you exist because you are part of all that is and you are needed to be here. And so that's kind of where we can start to look at our relationship with spirit, and we can understand, hey, spirit is me. There is a level of equality here between me and spirit. This isn't a relationship where I'm being asked to worship something outside of myself. And that's just something that I see a lot of people do. Like I said, I've seen a lot of my family members do this. They act as if spirit is something outside of themselves and that they're not worthy of spirit helping them or having spirit answer their prayers. And it's a little frustrating for me just because it's something that I know deeply. And my family is they're very close minded, right? And that's probably why I was born into this particular family, was to create a catalyst for these people so that they can hopefully expand and grow, right? So that's just one thing that I felt called to talk about today, was our relationship with spirit. What is your relationship with spirit? Do you have a relationship with spirit? Is your relationship understanding that you are spirit, that there is a level of equality that should always be present, that you are truly the one who will answer your own prayers? Your true identity, there is a veil of illusion that exists there. And this veil prevents you from truly remembering your true identity. It is there on purpose. Because if you truly knew who and what you were as the absolute, there's not a whole lot of room that can really be had for growth. You become an all-knowing identity. You know everything. There is nothing that cannot be unknown. And that's just your natural state in base reality. You are an identity who exists always, and there's absolutely nothing that can ever be unknown. Yeah, you can probably try to imagine it as a human. It's very difficult. Again, it reminds me of trying to grasp the idea of space being an infinite creation, expanding always, and expanding faster and faster as time continues forward. To imagine that there's just this never-ending expanse that just continues to expand and create. It's hard to grasp my mind around. As a being that exists within a world of finite reality, it's hard to imagine the infinite. And yet that is who you are. You can see space as a physical reflection of your identity as the absolute. This is something that is hard to accept as a human being. We know that, but it's just part of the experience here. It's part of having that identity, of believing that you are lesser than, so that you can go on a journey of rediscovering and remembering who you truly are. Now, even for myself, I have remembered the absolute. I have pre-birth memories that came back to me where I could remember being the absolute. I can remember being part of the absolute. And that means that this is a singular shared identity. I'm just one part of that. If you're listening to this, you are that identity as well. There is no separation. It is just spirit. It is just one identity. And while I did remember the absolute, And while I did remember a lot about my life and why I chose to be here, it doesn't mean that I'm always tapped into the absolute at all times. Like, there is still a barrier there so that I can continue on my own path of growth. But by understanding this, it helps me in a lot of ways within my life. It helps me navigate the ups and downs of physical reality. It helps me keep in mind that whenever I am facing adversity, whenever I am feeling stressed or worried, to know deeply who and what I am really helps just deal with the tumultuousness that is physical reality. It's always something that's going on, right? There's always some new issue, there's always some new problem, there's always something that's wrong. And that's just the way this reality is. Like, it's always going to be one thing after another. There's always going to be a new challenge. There's always going to be some new type of adversity that you are being asked to face. And that's just part of it. If you really want a heaven on earth type of thing, this particular reality isn't going to be that. You're always going to have some level of adversity. However, we are called to make this heaven on earth, because this physical reality, whether you like it or not, this is heaven to your true identity. To the absolute, this is it. This is the gift. This is what you have to give to yourself. And I think that that's something we don't talk about enough. And a lot of other religious groups and religious philosophies, there is this idea that the physical reality that we experience here is something to be thrown away. It's something to look over and just try to reach that next level of enlightenment, right? To ascend, so to speak. And that's like, that couldn't be more wrong. Like, that is completely wrong. Okay, like, you're already in base reality. Like, that's your true identity. Like, you just exist there. There's nothing to be experienced there. It's like a large empty room where you know every single thing, and there's just nothing new to be experienced. No time passes. There is no space. You just exist. And like, if you really want a reality where you have no issues, where you have no room to grow, like, you'll be there soon enough. Like, this is really a short experience from a higher perspective. This is a very brief experience here on earth and physical reality. This is something that you shouldn't take for granted. This is something you shouldn't throw away, because this is the gift. This is heaven. And that's the one thing that I think most people are going to be upset about when they do reintegrate with the absolute, is that they'll realize the gift that they had, and they'll understand how precious that gift was, and they'll understand that they didn't make the most of it. And that's the thing, because all is one identity. There is no true experience of reconnecting with your loved ones. So, like, let's say I pass away and I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to see my grandma. You know, I miss my grandma so much. I wish I could see her. Like, my grandma does not exist in base reality. It's just an aspect of the absolute, an identity that is me. And so these relationships that we experience and cultivate here in physical reality, this is the time and place for these relationships. Like, they're not waiting for you in the way that you think they are. I know that that may sound a little depressing. And I know some people are going to push back at this notion and say, well, I've heard this, and I've heard people talk about being reunited with people, and like, that's the thing. They're always ready to be called upon. You can think of each and every person who's existed as a thought of your true identity. Every person is one thought. Now, the thought comes and experiences itself, it passes, and it goes back to source. And so when you finally go back to source and you reintegrate with the absolute, these thoughts still exist there. You can still call upon them, and you can still see them take form in a sense. It's not really a true form, but you get what I'm saying. You can call upon these people, and you can interact with them. But there is this understanding that this is not the person that I experienced life with in this three-dimensional reality. You have an understanding that this is just myself. This is me. There is no other. There is no outside of. And so these relationships that we cultivate here, we understand these are just aspects of our true identity. And they don't really exist in the way that you think they do. And that's kind of why in like some of my other videos I've spoken about reality almost as a symphony of nothingness played for no one. Because there's just one identity, and it's putting on a show just for itself. Just for growth, just for experience, just because. Because it exists always. And if it's going to exist always, why not have a beautiful experience? And there's a part of that that is kind of sad. Like, I feel it's like a beautiful sadness. You know, it's beautiful, it's amazing, but at the same time, when you think about just this one identity splitting itself into fractals to experience the illusion of having something outside of itself so that it can interact with, like from a human perspective, it is almost kind of sad a little bit. It's just like, wow, all of this is being created, and it's a show just for the absolute. And it really is a beautiful experience. But yeah, there is no, like, your loved ones are not waiting for you the way that you think they are. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't want to hear. Like, I get it, you know. I used the analogy with my grandmother. Like, my grandma was like my own mother. Like, she was the one that I was closest to. She was like my best friend. She was always there to help me and support me. And you know, losing her was not easy. It was a difficult experience for me. And I would love to reunite with her in some way. But at the same time, remembering what I have, I understand that she does not exist in the way that I may have thought she would have. And it doesn't mean that, you know, it's not a sad thing. Right? This isn't meant to be something that's sad or negative. This is just being stated to double down on the point that your relationships here in physical reality right now, they're even more important than you think they are. Because this is the only time and place you can ever truly interact with your friends and family. This is it. This is the gift. They are not waiting for you. They are you. They are the absolute. And this illusion of separation ceases to be once we reintegrate with the absolute. It would be as if you were standing in front of the mirror and you're speaking to yourself, oh my God, I've missed you so much. Oh, I have missed you too. Like, it's just you. It's like, yeah, you can interact with it, but you know that this isn't really who you think it is, right? You may be able to pretend, but you will always know in that experience that this is not my friend or my family member, that this is an aspect of the absolute. This is an aspect of my true identity. We are all just small little pieces of a greater identity that is us. And from that experience, it's just not the same. Interacting with your friends and family is not the same. There is not this true reunion in the way that we as human beings would like to think. Now, when you do reintegrate with the absolute, there is certainly a reunion, and I would argue that the reunion you experience is even greater than that which you could currently imagine as a human being. It goes beyond what you can imagine. So I'm not saying this as if to say that you shouldn't, you know, think that it's some terrible thing. Like, no, you go back to your natural state. You reintegrate with your true identity. You remember each and everything about who you are. And from that perspective, you are a part of this unencompassing, all-knowing, all-loving identity that is you. And so there is a level of unconditional love that you experience that is just, it's too much to truly experience here, because true love from the perspective of spirituality is oneness. Like, love is almost a synonym for oneness in a spiritual context. So from that perspective, It's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to experience all that love has to offer here in an illusion of separation, because we are knee deep in an illusion of separation, which is the antithesis of oneness. Whereas when you reintegrate with the absolute, when you reintegrate with spirit, you are again in this state of oneness. And it is a unbroken form of this identity that is you. And so from that level, certainly oneness is, if oneness is love, then the love is much greater. It's a lot more than we can imagine here. And so I just really want to drive home to you guys that life is a gift. It is a gift. You should see it as a gift. This is not something that you should hate. This is not something that you should suffer through. Like, you can live your life that way if you want, but you're basically turning your nose up at a gift that you have given to yourself. And I can promise you, when you finally reintegrate with the absolute, if you haven't approached your life from the perspective I'm sharing with you today, your spirit is going to feel very regretful. Now, it won't feel regret in the same sense because there are no emotions to be had, but it will still understand, as it knows that it does have some regret about how it experienced its physical incarnation. Because that's the thing. Once you have this experience, that's it. There is no true recreation of an experience. It's not like you can just restart from the beginning and say, yeah, I probably should have graduated high school, or yeah, maybe I should have joined the military here. Maybe that would have made a big difference in my life. Whatever it may be, you're not going to have that experience. Now, you can have the option of another incarnation that you can experience, or you can experience a lot of the same themes, and you will carry over a lot of what you learned from your previous life into your new life. You will essentially be given the same choices, just as a different human being. And you will have the ability to learn and grow through that experience. But once your experience here is done, that is it. Like, I will never be able to be Brian ever again. I won't ever be able to interact with my friends and family. I won't ever be able to go back and interact with each and every one of you guys. Like, this is it. This is the now. This is the experience. This is what your spirit wants you to know. And when you can approach your life understanding how precious this truly is and how deep of an experience this really is, then you can live a life that comes from such a deep place of understanding. You can come from a place where you truly understand the gift that you have been given as a human being. You are the only one who can ever be you. And you should cherish that. And you should understand that it's a gift. And when you can approach your life from the perspective that each and everything is a gift that you have given to yourself, you can change your perspective. You can change the physical reflection that you see in your life and your reality. And from changing that perspective, there's no longer this experience of self-imposed limitations upon your life, because you see life as something that is not a gift. You see life as something that is meant to be suffered through. And like, I know so many people who have the perspective that life is a series of letting go, right? Letting go, relinquishing, mourning something. But that's just one side of it. Like, that's literally just one side of it. You can choose to see it that way. But each time you let something go, you let something new into your life. And it's just part of the process of having new experiences. You can't first have a new thought without letting go of the previous thought. And like, that's the thing, right? I use thoughts because thoughts are always there. Even when they pass, there's nothing to mourn, because you can just as easily bring that thought up once again and allow it to express itself. And each and every experience that you have is always with you, because there is no time and there is no space. And so from that understanding, there is truly nothing to mourn when you let go of. You just understand that this is part of me. This is part of the now, the present moment. But to just understand that life is a gift and to cherish each and every friendship and each and every relationship that you have in your life. Like, that's what I would encourage you to do. That is what Spirit is telling me to share with you today. So I really hope that you take this to heart. I really hope that you begin to see your life as a gift. I really hope that you can start to see even the more trivial friendships or relationships in your life with a new sense of divinity and love. Because these are aspects of the absolute. Each and every person you interact with is a reflection of yourself. These are all you. There is no outside of, there is no other. And so, from that perspective, you are interacting with yourself. Knowing what you know, that changes a lot when you interact with someone. It doesn't matter where someone comes from. If you understand that this is an aspect of yourself, you can go a lot further than you ever could when you believe that this person is something outside of yourself that is beyond help, that is beyond reaching. Every single person is always able to be reached. We may have to change the way that we go about doing so, but these are you. No one is beyond reach. Like, this is the absolute. There is nothing that is beyond reach. There is nothing that is truly a waste of time. And that's just one thing I want to leave you guys here with today. I really appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much. I hope I see you in my next video. As always, I love you guys. See you next time.